Hey, this is Sami Womack from A Sunny Side Up Life. I'm a podcaster and a blogger, and you are listening to the Prosperity Gap podcast.
Welcome to the Prosperity Gap, where we discuss the financial gap that exists between where we are and where we should be. It's time to bridge that gap.
Surprise! It's me again, everyone. Hey, C.R. Talene, and I am back to talk all about bridging the gap in your finances and to inspire you with amazing guests on the Prosperity Gap. Today's episode is being brought to you by eTrends Tax and Accounting. Did you know they have amazing tax videos on YouTube that can answer all of your business tax questions? You know, I love those guys at eTrends, so check them out at etrendsgroup.com. And let's get into the show. But first of all, when our host Dave Hall is traveling, I get to climb out of the producer's chair and get into the spotlight. And I want you to think about our guest today. So when you think about sunshine, rainbows, happiness, I hope you're thinking about our next guest. And I'm so excited to have Sami Womack from A Sunny Side Up Life. And she is a budgeting coach, blogger, motivational speaker, and the host of the incredible podcast, A Sunny Side Up Life podcast, that has already broken the 100,000 downloads. She's married with 3 kids and had almost $500,000 of debt and is now debt-free. So her passion is inspiring women to live abundant lives through budgeting, intentional living, and positive thinking. Sami, did I do okay?
Yes, that was perfect.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
And we talked earlier, one of the things I like to do before I get a guest on is I like to, it sounds weird, but I like to stalk and make sure that they're valid candidates. They're great. They have a great story. And that's the one thing that I absolutely loved when I found you and I found your podcast is I said, you have one of the most incredible stories.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do is have you get out of the gate right away and just share your story, because that's the one thing I think will inspire everybody who listens to this show.
Yeah. So like you said, our debt total was almost $500,000. I like to say that for dramatic effect. It just, $500,000. But it was about 490,000. And that did include 3 pieces of real estate. And we had the house that we were living in, which was a huge 3,000 square foot house. We had 4 bedrooms and an office that we were using as a 5th bedroom, 2.5 baths. Like, it was just a huge house. And people kept telling us, well, you'll grow into it. You'll grow into it. And we had 3 kids and we realized we were done having kids, and we're like, we still haven't grown into it. It's still huge. It's still expensive. And we also had our house before that we were living in. And we decided when we moved into the big house, we're going to turn this into a rental property, because people tell you that's always a great idea. You need to be a landlord, rental property. It's not a good idea when you literally don't even have a savings account open. And when things like the heater break, you have to put it on a credit card, which is literally what happened to us. And we were just in such a tight spot. And I also had a piece of raw commercial land that I was going to, be an entrepreneur and do all this stuff. And I couldn't even get a small business loan. I had no idea what I was doing. So then I was stuck with this land that was like $600 a month. And it was so expensive, such a burden. Plus we just had, we were having babies in the middle of this. When we very first started budgeting, our middle daughter was 9 months old. And then we had about 4 months into our budgeting journey, we found out we were pregnant for the 3rd time. So we were having babies in the middle of this. So we had all those expenses. We had all those medical bills. We were just living way beyond our means. So we were living off credit cards, going out to eat too much, things like that. We couldn't afford the property taxes on these 3 pieces of real estate. So we were 3 and 4 years behind on property taxes. I mean, it was crazy. We were just living so much beyond our means, and we just got really fed up with it, like most people. And we were like, what are we doing? This is not the dream. Like, we were high school sweethearts, and we had, all through high school, we planned how our adult lives were going to go, how we were going to build our family. And here we are, actually married, actually having children. And it was not the dream that it was supposed to be. And so we basically just pumped the brakes and we were like, nope, we're going in a different direction. Obviously, it was much easier said than done, but and then we just slowly sold off one piece of real estate after another. We chipped away at the debt. And then now we are renting a tiny 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house and just living on about half of our income. And we are cash flowing vehicles. We've cash flowed a Suburban for me, a truck for my husband, 2 boats now. We sold our old one, and an RV and a fifth wheel. And so we camp and we boat and we do what we want. And we're actually living that dream. So 11 years into our marriage. So I think that's us in a nutshell right there.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's the one thing that we have to go through is we have to be able to go through these phases in order to realize what we really need to do.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, I absolutely loved your story. So for those who want to hear more about your story, I tell everybody go to I think it's episode 79
Yeah.
that you have. That's your debt-free journey. That is one of the most incredible stories because I mean, you talk about the homes, you talk about everything in detail and you're so honest and open. And that's the one thing that as soon as I listened to that podcast, immediately after, I'm like, I have got to get Sammy on the show
Yeah.
because that was so inspiring. And just the lessons you learned from that. I mean, you have so much to share with the world. And I just thought that was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I try to share and not just, in all episodes that I do, I try to be, open and vulnerable and honest and tell people that it wasn't easy. It definitely was not easy. I mean, we were having babies in the middle of this, and having babies and like being in the early years of your marriage is hard enough,
Yeah.
and then taking on this huge thing. And then there was so much there was so much tied up in all of that debt. And there was all the emotions and the selling the properties, and a lot of the reasons why people don't move out of homes, because we get so attached to our physical possessions, and our homes, of course, are the biggest one. Um, and I know a lot of people told us, like, why are you leaving all the memories, all the things? And I was just like, no, it's not part of our dream anymore. So even though that was really hard, there were a lot of tears, there were a lot of,
Mhm.
got to stay motivated, but we came out the other side. So
And I think you have to live your own dreams. I think family has a lot of dreams for us, but
yeah,
we have to do our own journey. And sometimes it's not in the same path or in the same home or in the same city. A lot of these things we have to learn on our own.
yeah,
My daughter's 19. She lives in Nashville. And everyone's dream for her was stay close to home, go to college here, and not go somewhere far away because you're going to struggle. But that's what makes us stronger, I think, through
yeah,
our struggles.
yeah,
And that's why I loved your story. It's not because of the struggle, but because of the way that you persevered through that. Like you said, having your children, making sure that you're finding your dream and your happiness. That's what makes this so important for us. And that's why I love this story, because a lot of
yeah.
us just see, oh, woe is me. We can't do much here. And we're just going to sit and buckle down. But you kept fighting. And that's what I loved.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of breaking out of that box that society puts us in too. And it's, people say, well, you should invest in real estate. You should be a homeowner. You should. And maybe that's not our dream. And what I feel like at the end of your life, what is going to matter?
Mhm.
And for us, we stopped and we took a hard look around, and we were like, we would rather live in a really cheap rent house right now while our kids are little. The three of them don't mind sharing a room right now, so let's go with that. And we wanted to get outdoors more. We homeschool our kids, and my husband works offshore, so he's gone 3 weeks, home 3 weeks. So we have so much time freedom that we're like, we could be camping, we could be boating, we could be out there doing all the things that most people wish they could do. And
Mhm.
how do we make that a reality? So we took that dream and we worked backwards. Well, what do we need to do to get to there? And then we just, we made a timeline, we made a debt payoff timeline, a savings timeline, and we chipped away at it. And here we are.
And I wanted to ask you because in your bio, you talk about being intentional. And
Hmm.
we had Kelly from F the Joneses on our show, and
Yeah.
she said, I'm getting more joy by being intentional and not frugal. And I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you what intentional meant to you so we could get this out there to let people know what being intentional really is.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's the best comparison is a, a diet versus a wellness plan. You know what I mean? And when people go on a diet, it's a crash diet. It's thinking about what they're missing out on. It is a scarcity type of thing. And when they go on a wellness plan, it's like, well, how can I make myself feel better? How can I actually get better? And it's not a short-term thing, it's more of a long-term thing. So that's how I think of intentionality. I think, yeah, I'm a little frugal. Maybe I'm more cheap than anything just because I'm a natural saver. But it's more intentionality. And I can squirm a little bit about the silliest $50 purchase, but then go and drop $11,000 on a boat like, bam, didn't even feel sick at my stomach at all about it, because that's intentionality. That's like, does it align with where we are? So I completely agree. And I really think that intentional living to me is everything mixed together. It's your money, it's your home, it's your goals, it's your relationships, it's all of those things. And I think that when you're intentional with one area, it really starts to spill over. And so for us, that started with our money, and then it spilled over into minimalism, and then it spilled over into, all these other things, and it's just a ripple effect. So
Yeah, exactly. And I was in Hollywood for a vacation last weekend, and we pull up to the parking garage, and I pull up and it was $15, but there was no sign. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go find one cheaper down the road. And
yeah.
my wife's like, just pay the extra $5. It's $10, maybe a block further down, but just pay it. We're here. And I love that you're talking about that being intentional. And I think that's the one thing is we need to make sure that we really are focused. I loved your analogy also of the diet and the lifestyle, because
Mhm.
like for me, if I'm going to go to the beach, I can't hurry and eat the week before, not eat and expect to have that perfect beach body.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional about when you're going, what you're going to be doing, and making sure that it is a lifestyle. And I think that's what this podcast is about. It's about helping people find that bridge that gap in their finances to say, hey, we're going to be intentional about making sure that you know where your money's going. And it's okay if people want to be cheap or frugal, or
Yeah.
they're very intentional about saving because they love having coffee in the morning. And that's one thing that, hey, if you want that, then just figure out where you can subtract that from other parts of your budget. And it's just important that we really just find who we are, but it has to go through a big journey, right? Like what you went through, because if not, you don't have those stories to tell. You don't have those things to fall back on and say, well, this is what I went through and I want to share it with the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, statistics tell us that money is one of the biggest causes of divorce, and
Yep.
it's one of the biggest causes of stress and depression and all of these things. And we feel like, hey, we got our money right. Like, what else can we not conquer? Like, come at me, life. Like, we are ready. And I mean, we joke about that all the time. My husband and I do, and we're like, we could overcome $500,000 in debt and moving into this tiny house. Like, what else can we not conquer? Like, we're good. We're
Yeah.
good now. And so we definitely wear that as like a badge. And we're just like so proud of that fight and all of the hurdles that we overcame. And like I said, like that spills over. That drive and that, confidence, it spills over into every other aspect of your life. You're like, I've gone through things way harder than this. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to ask you why you started your podcast, the Sunny Side Up Life podcast, because to me, podcasting is one of the best marketing platforms.
Mhm.
It's an awesome way to network from your home. But I want to know why you started this podcast to reach out to the world.
Well, I started my blog and my website and everything about 3.5 years ago. And honestly, when I first started it, it was out of boredom as being a stay-at-home homeschooling mom with a husband offshore. I'm just like, I need to talk to adults. And I just felt like we had this story and it needed to be shared, and which is, I feel like a lot of people when they start something like this, they're like, I needed to share. I needed to share. It was just a calling. And that eventually led me into podcasting. Just as podcasting grew, as I realized as a busy mom, that's how I get most of my information. A lot of times I can't read an entire blog without getting interrupted.
Mhm.
And I lose my train of thought. So with a podcast, I can put my headphones on. I can wash dishes, fold laundry, vacuum, drive, do whatever, watch the kids play, and I can be productive at the same time. And so I was like, that's how I get most of my information. So if I want to reach those women that are similar to me, that's how I have to do it. And also for me, it was just kind of a natural, it's easier than writing for me. It's faster. um, Probably 98% of the episodes that I do by myself are after my kids go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, at midnight, and I don't have to put on makeup or have lights on. I've recorded many episodes in the pitch black while my kids are asleep, an arm's length away. um, so it just made sense for me, logistically, and just, the passion of spreading the message. It just seemed like the easiest way to do that.
That's awesome. And I also wanted to ask about a sunny side up life. I mean, your business, your blog, the things you're doing.
Mhm.
And because I noticed that you share a lot of great content, from freebies that you download to courses, which is super impressive.
Mhm.
And I love that you're trying to help others and give them opportunities to budget, to get control. And you also do it at great prices, which is unheard of in this industry. A lot of people are quite high. Tell me
Yeah.
about your experience with this and how this has been going.
So I do have a couple of paid courses. I have a budgeting course, and then I have a smaller kind of mini course called Control Your Crazy. And it's just a little bit of like, it helps you get just a couple of first steps with like goals and money. And like I said, how the intentionality spills over. And so I really feel like if you are to just take the first couple of steps with decluttering your house, you're going to have more energy. So then you're going to have more energy to focus on your budget, or vice versa. So I just really think that that is really important. And then, of course, I have a lot of free resources, just because there were times in my life where I desperately wanted to invest in a course or even buy a book, and I couldn't. I mean, that was the difference between having enough grocery money and not. So I try to help those people that are at the very beginning, like step zero of their journey, and they just need something to get them going. And then I hope that that helps them enough that they can later take the next few steps into the paid courses. And it's just been really great, and it's been really rewarding. And I recently launched my budgeting system. It's called the digital budgeting system, and it is Google Sheets, but it is all formulated and like color coordinated. And I'm just nerding out over this. It is insane. I actually brought in one of my friends who is a tech expert, and because the formulas are like over my head. I mean, it's just so amazing. And you can imagine, with my husband's 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off schedule, our budget is a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So a lot of these apps and stuff, they put you in this little box of a monthly budget that's literally will not work for us. And so for me, that held me up for so many years. I'm like, well, I don't fit in this little box that these apps are putting me in. So guess I can't budget. And so I try to reach those people who feel like that. And with the online courses, I try to reach those moms who can't get a babysitter to go to a seminar or go to, a class outside of the home. And that's definitely me. So I'm like, you have an online course, you can hit play during nap time. You can wait till 11 o'clock at night and your kids are asleep like I do.
Mhm.
And it's just been really reflecting on 6 years ago, what would I have needed? And I go from there. So
That's awesome. And one
yeah.
of the things I found on your site too was actually talking about shopping and saving hacks.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have you tell me a little bit about your experience in this area and how it's helped you, and things we can do to teach those who are part of this prosperity gap, what they can do to kind of stay on this hacking train that everyone's on.
Yeah. So some of my favorite tips for savings hacks are things like, you can do the extension browsers and the like eBay stuff, and the honey.com and the pop cart and all these things that will help you compare prices, because a lot of us we shop online nowadays. And so we can do these really simple things. Like, for example, I was shopping for a new dog food, and my dog is like 14 years old. And so I'm really like trying to step up my game with his food. And so I'm shopping around online, and I go on Amazon and I'm finding his food, and I clicked on the little pop cart extension browser, and it's like, pop, 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 like shows all the different Target, Walmart, all the different prices. And it's like, you have the best deal. I'm like, cool. That was so fast and that was so easy. And then I do a lot of things like I am obsessed with raise.com and their discounted gift cards. And I thought it was a scam at first because it was like, is this too good to be true? So you can go on there and you can buy discounted electronic gift cards. And again, for me, I do most of my shopping online, especially my kids' clothes and my clothes. I don't want to drag them to the mall and try on clothes. And it's just, so I will shop online at like Old Navy or something. And I will go on raise.com. I will buy discounted gift cards, save 4%, 8%, 12%, just depending on what they have on there. And you literally just copy and paste the gift card code into your checkout, and it takes an extra minute or two. And I've saved so much money doing that. I actually price hacked the computer that we're talking on right now with raise.com and going through Ebates to get their cash back. And I saved so much money. It was insane. And there's a lot of other things. There's like Fetch Rewards now where you can do scan your receipts, and you can even do it for the e-receipts if you're doing like Walmart grocery pickup, which is another lifesaver of mine. And you can do that. And that was another part of my hacking for my computer. I got, I think, like $150 worth of gift cards through Fetch on just groceries that I would buy anyway, and referrals of recommending it on Instagram. And it was super simple. It was, and there are other things like Ibotta and what is the new one? Dosh is a new one. I'm just trying it. It's an app, and I think I've used it twice so far. So I can't give you a lot on that one, but they're out there. And I feel like, to me, it's another little extra step, but it doesn't really take that much time. And in a lot of ways, I feel like when we are on a long journey, and especially speaking as a stay-at-home mom, I feel like, my husband's out there, he's hustling, he's bringing in the income. I'm here. What can I do? And this is something that I can very easily do while kids play and scream in the background, and I go about my regular shopping duties as the mother. And it makes me feel like I'm actually getting my hands on it. I am physically helping. And that kind of stuff has really helped me stay motivated, because I feel like I'm actually contributing. I'm actually doing something. I'm not just sitting here waiting for the next payday. So I think things like that, and always like, just do a quick Google search. Is there a coupon code? Is there a new app out? And I think things like that are super helpful.
And I'll put a link of all these in the show notes, so you'll be able to find, especially your blog post about it, because you have, I think you have 5 on there that you kind of go into detail about. And I love that too. Like Walmart pickup, man, that was a lifesaver also, because I live in the country. Like we have more chickens and cattle than we do people. And we're about 45 minutes from town. So Amazon's great. And we use a lot of, like you said, the extensions for the browsers. Those are incredible. Honey.com.
Yeah.
And even Walmart. I love Walmart pickup because of the fact that if I go down and I spend 2 hours in Walmart, I end up spending 3-4 times more than I originally planned for, because, we plan all of our meals ahead. We go down and know exactly what we want. We're very intentional on how we buy our food, especially eating healthy. And when you're down there, you're just like, man, this looks really good. So does this. And then you start
God forbid you go in there hungry. And then,
I know, right?
and then, and even going with kids, that of course they're going to ask for stuff. And especially my kids they're so close together in age. It was like taking the circus to the grocery store with
Yeah.
me, and I can't focus. I can't price compare. I'm just like, grab things and let's just get out of here, and every man for himself. But now that I can do the grocery pickup, we've been doing it for, I think, about a year, maybe a little longer than a year now. And I can do it when the house is quiet. I can actually think straight. I can actually price compare. And what's really cool about it is that my husband also has the app on his phone, and we use the same login, and so we can both add things to the cart while on our separate phones. And so it's really great for times like when he's home, or when we're planning a camping trip and I'm like, what do you want? Go do it on your phone. This is what I want. And then we kind of come back together, and before we actually purchase. And plus, you can see that total as it's adding up. Nothing is worse than getting to the grocery store and going, oh, wow, I did not expect that to be the total. But when you're shopping online like this, you can see those totals add up. And so you can go back and say, maybe I don't need those cookies. Let's take that off. Maybe I don't need, all these extra things. So that's super helpful.
When my wife, she used to get really frustrated with me when my daughter was really young, because she said the worst combo is you two going to the store together, because I would just go down the aisle and we'd just start throwing stuff in. By the time we got
Mhm.
done, I'm like, we haven't even got what's on the list.
Yep.
And my wife was like, please don't take our daughter when you go shopping, because she looks at me with those big eyes, and I'm like, throw it in. We'll eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. The kids are like, can we get ice cream? And then, my husband's like, of course. And
Yeah.
nothing's worse than, when we go camping, those are our vacations. So we are in full vacation mode. We are in full junk food, whatever anybody wants mood. And nothing is worse than going in a grocery store with vacation fever, and you're just like, yes, everything. So the pickup really, really, really helps us.
Yeah, I love that. So is couponing dead?
I feel like it's not 100% dead, but it is changing. And, when we first started 5 years ago, I was doing physical coupons. Of course, I wasn't doing, the newspaper coupons like my grandma still does, but I was doing coupons.com, which coupons.com it's still a thing. And I would print them and I'd take them into the grocery store, and I would do that. But now it's couponing, but it's in a new digital way. And that is basically what Ibotta is. That is basically what Fetch is. They're doing it more in a cash back type of sense, but it's the same thing. And honestly, it is more profitable, because I remember clipping coupons to save 10 cents, a quarter, and now I'm doing Fetch, and it's just like click, 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 quarter. Like it's so much faster, so much easier. You're not, fumbling with all the paper coupons.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can still go on like coupons.com and things like that, and print off coupons. So it is a dying art form, I believe, in the old sense of the word.
Yeah. And I wanted to add too, because my son he's in high school, and he has something called pocket points. Every time he keeps his phone in his pocket and doesn't take it out during school, because you set a timer and it tells you how long you've had it in your pocket or how long you haven't had it at school, and they get coupons. So if they want to go to Tropical Smoothie and take a date, he gets a buy one, get one free. And they have all these places they can go. It encourages them to keep their phone in their pockets. It encourages them to go out and spend, but it also gives them ways to save. And it's not just go out and buy. And my wife and I have a trip coming up, and instead of just going to the mall, she'll order from different sites online where they'll come and they'll send her clothes and she can try them on at home, which is it sounds crazy, but it's really such a great time saver versus
Mhm.
going to the mall, because then you end up stopping at 4 or 5 other stores and you're buying all these other things you really don't need. But if you have 4 outfits that come directly to her, she tries them on, keeps 1 or 2, and sends the rest back.
Yeah, and it's not the impulse as much. I feel like we get in the stores, and I swear that they run something through the air vents that just makes you crazy. And we did this. My daughter's birthday was last week, and she got a Old Navy gift card. She wanted to go and spend it. Well, of course, my other daughters wanted things, and I saw a couple things, and I'm like, I actually need that. And next thing I know, I spent $140 on top of her gift card. That wasn't even counting her gift card. And I was just like, I had no idea what the total was because we're in birthday mode here, you
Yeah.
know? And if I were to be shopping online, I would have seen that total build up, that impulse, that we're in the moment, we're having fun, we're in the store, wouldn't have been the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we're talking about student discounts. We're talking about pay close attention during checkout, right? So it's not when you go to
Mhm.
Walmart and you're thinking, you and your spouse are like, okay, are we going to be over 200? Are we going to be over at 300? And so you have that price negotiation and you're just watching it
Yeah.
rise and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be sick.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then also, some of the other things I do. My wife loves Hobby Lobby. It's one of those
Mm.
stores that if I know she's going, I just dread because she's going to be there forever.
Yep.
But she also has, there's apps for certain stores. So Hobby Lobby has an app. Every time she goes in, they always have the 40% off app. But
Mhm.
every store you go to has apps, right? And not everyone,
Oh,
but a lot of them have something. So they're teaching you and they're helping you to say, hey, stay loyal to us. But I also love that you can shop for things you want down the road. So if you know you're going to be getting school supplies, it doesn't hurt to start now. Even for Christmas, I know it sounds crazy, but I start as soon as Christmas is over, and
yep.
I go through like Slick Deals. If you've ever been there, I love to go on Slick Deals because I look for things for my kids and for my wife, things that we can use.
Yeah.
And I buy them now and I stick them in my closet. It's not like one of those things I'm like, I know I got you something 2 years ago and here it is. But because even with that, we talk about being intentional. I'm super intentional about making sure I get gifts that are great,
Mhm.
but I also look for deals because I want to make sure that I'm getting the right deal where I can go back and feel proud that, hey, I only spent $100 on all these gifts versus, oh, I just got it yesterday and it was
Yeah.
$100.
Yeah, and Groupon is another good one like
Yes.
that. And with us, we try to encourage more non-physical gifts, experiences, and things like that. And so,
Love
if you're
that.
someone who does that, Groupon is a great alternative. And I even there are some physical things that I've bought through there. So Groupon is like my go-to place if I am my go-to grandparent gift is calendars from Shutterfly.
Yes, I do the same.
It is a classic, and I can real easy pop out 4 calendars for the grandparents, and do a click through from Groupon, and I buy it, and it's cheaper, and it is like dirt cheap. And I think I made 4 calendars this past Christmas for under $50, and I got all the grandparents like right there. It was so easy. So that's another one. Check Groupon, and if it saves you $20, I always think of it as people are like, well, is it worth my time? I always think of it as if it saves you $20 or $1, whatever it is, if that $1 was sitting on the sidewalk, would you bend down and pick it up? Yes. Like
Yes.
I literally pick up pennies.
Yeah.
My middle daughter and we every time we are out in public, we are just scoping for coins, and she finds a coin, no joke, 90% of the time when we leave the house. I mean, she's got laser focus. Um, and so I just think if it was a penny, I would bend down at the store and pick it up. So yeah, I'm going to click through 2 or 3 extra clicks to save this money. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And I did the calendars for years too. I even found out how to print them at home, so I was able to save, print
Oh.
them on cardstock, and I even have some abilities they call it comb binding, but where you can bind
Mhm.
the edges. And then I actually started moving into placemats. So I take a picture of all my kids laid out on a 12 by 18 sheet, have it printed at Costco, and then I had it laminated. And
That's
so for
awesome.
the parents, I gave them placemats. And so every time we go to the house, we laugh because they pulled out these placemats from 10 years ago. My kids were little, and so I love that you're speaking my language, right? Because that's the same thing. I'm always looking
Yeah.
for deals. I'm always looking for ways to give better gifts or experiences. I love taking my kids to go do things because that
Mhm.
has more memories. And then when I get done, I go and make a book of all
Yeah.
those experiences, and I can get coupons. I look for every deal. And my wife, sometimes she's like, just go buy it. I'm like, I'm waiting
Yeah.
for the perfect time and deal. And she's like, you are insane. I'm like, I know.
Yeah, I even with my computer hacking, for my price hacking for my computer, I was buying the discounted cards on raise.com, and without realizing that there is a gift card limit on walmart.com, which is where I bought my computer. And it's like, you've reached your maximum limit for how many gift cards you can combine. And I was like, oh man, I didn't think about that because I'm, getting this one over here that's like 40% off and this one over here, and so it was a lot of small ones. So I was like, oh, wait. And I called my local Walmart real quick, customer service, and I said, if I happen to have like 10 gift cards, for example, could I come in and you could put them on one gift card? And she's like, yeah, no big deal. Just come up to the service desk.
Cool.
And I was like, okay. I mean, it took a couple extra minutes and I'm like, but it worked. So if you run into that situation where you've been, hoarding gift cards or you're buying discounted gift cards online, a lot of times you can go into the store and they'll help you with that. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. These are such great tips, and we're running out of time. So I wanted to ask you a
yeah.
couple more things before we
Yes.
end the show. But one of the reasons I really wanted you on the show is because I love your positive outlook, and it's so inspiring. And that's the one thing I love, that you talk about positivity, especially helping women, because right, you're in that mindset. You're in that right now. You're not talking about something. It's like I can't go and talk about Spanx and how amazing they are because I'm not in that space, right?
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I can talk about the way that those were created and how a woman went in there and said, I'm going to make this better because it's not, guys aren't wearing this. I'm going to go make it so it fits for me. And I love that you are always talking about making sure that things are for women, that fits for them, that it's something that helps them to move forward. And I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned something about having full freedom and how to continue on the journey of life. And I wanted to ask you about how you combine that with a positive outlook to be able to help women survive in the world right now.
Yeah. So for me, it's a lot of thinking about that big picture vision that I have for my life and kind of connecting the dots back to where I am right now. And to me, I have that vision of where I want to be 10 years, 20 years from now. And I work backwards of how can I make that a reality? And it's also, I feel like it's a constant juggling act, a constant balance of being content and happy in the current state you're in and finding joy even when you're in the middle of paying off a lot of debt or raising babies or something like that. And it's a lot of knowing that it is going to get you to where you want to go. And for me, that helps me stay positive because I'm like, I used to be really sad and depressed every time my husband would go to work. 3 weeks is a long time.
Mhm.
And now that we're good. Like we're just like, okay, bye, see you in a couple weeks. And not that we don't love each other anymore. It's that we know why he's going to work. And I feel like when you know that you're working for a greater purpose, when you know that you're working towards your long-term goals, we're one trip closer to retirement. We're one trip closer to being millionaires. And we know that now. And so we're working with drive and intention and purpose now. And that'll get you through a regular Tuesday where you're like, oh, I wish that you were home because I could really use some backup with these kids.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. You're like, okay, but I realize why we're doing this. I know why we're doing this. And so I feel like when you're working for a greater purpose, it makes the day to day so much better. And it's so much easier to be content during the journey.
And I wanted to read something you posted on Instagram because I want to express that you don't have to be perfect. You don't
Yeah.
have to be already putting things together in your life. You just have to be trying, right? You get up every day, no matter how rough the day is. And you said that when you're talking about your daughter, when you had your daughter, and you said, I actually had no idea what I was doing, but I just kept taking the next step. I kept
Mhm.
going because she was counting on me. I made it up as I went along, and when in doubt, I just led with my heart. We never really 100% know what we're doing. We're always kind of making it up as we go. And usually, as long as our hearts are in the right place, life turns out pretty great.
That's true.
I,
Yeah.
I love that because you basically are so transparent, especially on your podcast, but even in your writing, and I love on your Instagram. I'm a huge Instagram nerd,
Oh,
and
same.
but I love that because you're telling everyone out there it's okay to mess up. It's okay to keep faking it till you make it, kind of a thing where you're just trying, because there's not really. I can't tell you how many parent books we bought when we first had kids, and we thought, okay, we're gonna nail this, but as you're going, things happen, depression sets in, life sets in, and you're just trying to make things work. So I
Yeah.
love that you share about having that positive outlook, because we all struggle and we go through these and we feel like we're alone. But I think you're a voice for so many that are feeling weak and lost. And if they just can sit down and listen, like you said, when they're doing laundry, if they're just
Yeah.
doing dishes, they have that time where they can sit down and listen and feel like somebody gets me. They're putting me on the path of success again, and I just have to do it. And then you have courses to follow up, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just feel like, in those little day-to-day moments, you're folding laundry, you're listening to a podcast, you're doing something towards the greater purpose of your life, towards your big vision of your life. And so it really helps you not to get discouraged and weighed down by the day-to-day type things. And yeah, I'm a big advocate of trial and error. Fall on your face. Who cares at the end of the day? No one's going to remember. What they're going to remember is, did you live life to the fullest? Did you actually achieve your goals? Did you actually chase your dreams? That's ultimately what matters, I think.
I totally agree. It's like being on the podcast. I was so comfortable being behind the scenes for 10 years helping Dave do all these podcasts. When he says, hey, go do the podcast, I'm like, me? You want me to
Yeah.
talk to somebody face to face on here? No way. And but I stumble, I make a ton of mistakes, but the thing is I love it because I get to talk to people, I get to network, and I get to build relationships. That's the one
Yeah.
thing is I love talking to people because I get to know who they are and I build relationships. They last forever. I'm an Instagram. I meet people. I met one guy at a concert and we've been friends for 3 years now. We're going to do a vacation coming up.
That's
And my wife's
awesome.
like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, you know what? I just meet people like on an airplane. I met a dude and we're good friends. And she's like, you can't meet one person. You can't meet somebody one time and just become friends. And I said, well, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You align to each other and you help and motivate. It's when you're teaching your courses and people are in tune with it and they get it, they reach out to you and they feel like they know you, right? And this is part of life. And that's what makes this so enjoyable.
Yep, exactly.
So, well, our time has come and gone, and I've loved talking to you. It's been so
Yeah.
inspiring. I'm so excited that you came on and shared your story. And I hope that those who are enjoying the podcast are getting a lot more out of it. And how do they learn more about you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm at sunnysideuplife.com is my website, and all of my links for the podcast, the blogs, the courses, the freebies, everything is on there. I'm also at a Sunny Side Up Life on Instagram and Facebook as well. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
thank you so much.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and give our show a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And you have been listening to The Prosperity Gap, the financial gap between where you are and where you should be. And until next time, keep investing, saving, and using your money for good. See you guys.